and welcome to 10 Very Big Books, a Malazan read-through podcast. My name is Peter Bond. I've read every book in the main series. However, my co-hosts are reading the series for the first time. With me today is my friend and closest confidant, India Jones.
Hello.
Our producer, AJ Fileri.
Hello. And
he is my crystal, Joshua Baker.
Aw, that's right. I can't heal you, and I'm a fucking fraud. Crystals, baby. Crystal slam.
Damn, dude.
Really taking crystals down a peg. How you guys feeling? How we doing today?
My allergies are bad, but that's boring. That's not good radio.
So I guess I'm
feeling a little groggy because it is the first day of daylight savings time, so we did lose an hour of sleep last night here in the States.
All right, we should have just got straight into it. This is
yeah. No, this is your fault. We are uninteresting people.
I'm reading this great book.
Today we're starting book 6. The Bonehunters, and we're reading the prologue in the first 3 chapters. So, let's just get straight into it. Prologue. In Kartul, a young sergeant named Hellian hates spiders. She takes her city guard to the Temple of Drek, recalling the Worm of Autumn and its worshippers. She also thinks on the Malazan's long occupation of the island. At the Grand Temple, she is greeted by Banashar, who says they must break into the temple. When they break down the doors, they see a terrible slaughter has occurred. Hellian quickly realizes Banashar has disappeared. The sergeant is certain that her and her squad will soon be sent across the sea to join one of the many Malazan armies. Dejem Nebral, a divers created and bound by Decembaclus, is being freed from its prison. The Nameless Ones begin their ritual. 11 of them and Sister Spite are to free the creature for some unknown end. As he rises, a slaughter begins. Far away, Tarlag Veed watches a dragon rise from the slaughter and waits for it to be over. Then he sets off to track the creature. In a small town in 7 cities, the blacksmith Barathal Makar gathers his weapons. 5 Talani masks come to town, and I'll face them alone. Okay, so the prologue is starting, and we start on the Isle of Kartul with a young sergeant. There's some spiders, the Worm of Autumn. India, the book opens up, and we meet Sergeant Hellian. What's your first impression of her, and how are you feeling cracking open book 6?
I'm feeling pretty good. I was a little nervous in the prologue when I didn't really know anyone, but then all my friends came back in chapters 1, 2, and 3, which was exciting. Picking up right where we left off, which was even more exciting. And as for Hellian, we all know I love a strong female character, especially with her vices. And yeah, I really liked her. I think that she's sassy, she's spunky. She seems a little out of it sometimes. She's just trying to get through her life, terrified of giant spiders, which is horrifying.
Fist-sized.
Can I tell you, that was the funniest thing I've read in a long time, was her trying to be like, well, where can I go? Boats? Spiders. The roads? Spiders. Here? Spiders. But at least I know them. I was like, you're a lunatic.
Yeah. With that said, though, no idea what this whole situation was setting us up for. So fascinating. And those were my first thoughts.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Odds, Josh, any takeaways from that part of the prologue?
I have one, and that is I've developed a newfound skill. And
what's that?
That skill is I read the prologue, and then I go, well, that'll matter later. And then it's gone. I let it go, and I remember none of it.
It's like a magic trick.
Yeah.
Probably a good investment.
Because I read all the things, and I was just like, I have broad strokes of what happened, and I have a couple names that are deep in there, but I'm like, they're gonna come up when they come up. I don't need to find a connection yet.
Yeah, maybe that memory will unlock when I read that name again. We'll see.
Yeah, full of carry moment. Also, real quick, I have noticed a pattern. Every even book so far in the series, we have taken place on 7 cities. Is that going to continue happening? Are 8 and 10 also here? And it was all a long con by Steve?
I have no comment. AJ, What is Dejim Nabral, and are you down to clown with this to Ivers?
I don't know what Dejim Nabral is, but I did fuck with that scene very hard. That scene is so cool. I think the scene's really great how there's like the 12 different people and it's like building through them. It's like the first person, the second person, Don, and then like, just... Yeah, I loved that part of it, going through all the 12 people. They're all doing their own separate thing to like help with this ritual or whatever. But I love that Dejim Nabral was our POV because it really illustrated what each Warren did in a way that was like more clear than any other of the books have been, except like Omtos Falak is ice. And like that's but yeah, it was like, mind, body, spirit, whatever. Like it's very, very good stuff. I was big into it, but as far as Dejim Nabral as a character, we will see.
Our powers combined, we summoned
Dejim Nabral. India, what do you think Sister Spite's doing there?
What the hell was that about? I don't know. What is she doing there? And then she's like, and like, I'm not ready to die. I know they're all gonna die, but I'm just gonna when it's all over, I'm just gonna cut out of here. So I don't know what she's doing there. I don't even... Is she a dragon?
She can be.
Oh, is she the soul-taking dragon that left?
Maybe I spoiled it. I don't know.
No, Sister Spite. She had a little red scaly hand.
Oh, so we don't know it. Oh, we don't know it. I didn't catch that. I thought Dejim Nabral was the... Oh, but he can't be because he's a Diver, so he's going to be multiple things, doesn't he?
Oh,
so we don't know yet.
India came out on top today.
She did. Yeah. She did. I didn't catch that. Nice.
Momentous. What a way to kick off the season.
Nice.
Yeah. And Josh, the prologue ends with we're in this desert town and we meet Barathol Mekkar. What did you make of the blacksmith?
I loved this silly scene because I have no clue why on earth it could matter, and it's very fantasy. There were like a bunch of Talon. They didn't seem like they were bone people, so have we met some Talon that are not bony right now?
Do you mean some Imass that are not bony?
Yeah, have we met any Imass that were not like bone people?
Just Tool's sister?
Yeah, and now Tool looks like that too.
And now Tool, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I loved that though. I was like, I don't understand it. Do you know what it felt very much like? It reminded me of the first episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian. That little desert town. I don't know. It's just like small town. There's like one dude who's just kind of like the resident badass when necessary. Although he was a secret badass, which was, I don't know. I like it.
So a quote I loved in this opening with Barathol is they're kind of describing this town and how it's just like in nowhere in 7 cities and how it's kind of just been untouched by this rebellion and everything. And there's this line that says, in any case, rebellions were for other people, And I think it's really, I kind of love the line because it shows how like time is persisting and everyday life persists even through like these historical events. Do you mean like even as this continent's in rebellion, there are people who just like, are passing the time, are doing their job. It's
like that scene in Midnight Tides where we end the freezing of the demon or whatever, and it's just these two people having dinner on their balcony and, proposing. Like, it's everyday life persists despite all the crazy shit happening.
Yeah. I feel like we saw almost none of that in the in Deadhouse Gate. We saw all like the atrocities of the rebellion, but like now we're seeing that like, well, those were like very specific moments of that time, and that was not the case everywhere. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I would just like to say, in regards to that Barathol scene, I was like, man, Mekkar sounds super familiar. Mekkar's like really ringing some bells.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we started the next chapter, I was like, Kalam Mekkar is his name.
I didn't catch that.
Related to Kalam some way.
Wow, and Kalam is from 7 cities, the continent, and this guy, they were like, oh, he's from the south part of the continent. Oh man, I didn't catch that.
India, I'm watching your eyes right now. Are you Googling?
Yeah.
No, I was going into our document to read where that name came up.
I did not catch that. Time. Man, you guys are on fucking fire today.
I'm also, Josh, my brain is all over the place because I just listened to like all of Gardens of the Moon in a week.
Oh, yeah, true.
And I've been reading this book. And so my brain is like tuned in.
You're a monster.
You're plugged into the mainframe. Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts about the prologue before we kick the can down the road?
Nope.
All right. Chapter 1. Apsalar enters the city of Erlatan by night, and she finds herself a tavern. Far across the desert, Leomin and the last rebellion flee pursuit. Leomin speaks with Korab about 7 cities and its reoccupation by the Malazan. A witch named Samar Dev is injured in a wagon when she is stumbled upon by Karsa Orlong. They quickly agree to travel to the city of Ugarat together. In her room, Apsalar thinks of Cutter in sorrow. After mentioning she is a shadow dancer to the barkeep, she heads out into the city to do Cotillian's work. A Pardu woman follows her, observing her for a hidden master. Apsalar walks into the Shadow Warren and finds 2 corpses of Tisti. She speaks with the Shades, Tellarest and Curdle. She agrees to free them. Leomin's army stops for water and food. Leomin and Korab speak about the army disbanding, the Book of Dryjna, and impossible victory. Karsa and Samar Dev arrive at the city together, where after an exchange with the gate captain, Karsa is allowed in. Reputation of Shaikh's Toblakai has reached the city. They speak of a nearby Malazan garrison under siege. Karsa says that the rebellion is over, that Leomin rides his own path, and that Karsa will ride out to break the siege against the Malazan garrison. Apsalar goes to the Genrab, an ancient building at the heart of the city. Here she continues to speak with the Shades, who says they once actually knew the goddess Apsalar. As she gets closer to the target of Cotillian's task, she finds that it has already been completed. Mebra has been killed. She then is ambushed, and she kills her attackers. It was all the work of the Nameless Ones. Tellarest and Curdle decide to stay with Apsalar, even if it upsets someone named Edgewalker. Curdle wants her throne back.
Guys, slipping into chapter 1 was like just such a nice, cozy blanket of familiarity for me in this series. It was so nice.
Oh my god, that's like I kind of want to just blast through the prologue to get to this point, which is really how I feel like I wanted to start the conversation. And I just got to say, picking up this book was like just a cool glass of water. It's like, oh yes, all the characters I know. We've been reading about them. I remember picking up a book where the story left off, you know? Just feels great.
Can I say real quick before we get into like specific things? While reading this, it occurred to me how good Steve is at, I don't know how to put it, but like the tone of the people in Midnight Tides, like the tone of the Tisti, like the way the Tisti either all of their actions, and then the Lethari people being ruled by like the singular vice of greed. Like it didn't occur to me just how pervasive like negative emotions kind of felt in the way they spoke, in the things they did. I don't know. And then in this one, it's so much more kind of chaotic feeling, and in some way it was less. It made me feel less oppressive about everything going on. I don't know. I just really feel like the tone is so vastly different in like all of the characters and how they act and speak between these 2 books. I don't know, that's just me. But just from 3 chapters, I was like, it's completely different styles of writing, it felt like.
Yeah, I feel like in this book, I'm like, oh, people are talking to each other. Where in Midnight Tides, I was like, I'm watching a Shakespeare play.
Yes, yes. It's so different.
Yeah.
Which I want to ask, Josh, you kind of mentioned it, that we're back on 7 Cities, and I know you're not always a 7 Cities fan. How did you feel to be back on the continent?
I'm actually incredibly excited because I feel like we're finally, like, Mom and Dad have finally let us come out of the 3-year-old and under section of the playground, and now we get to get on the big slide and the real swings. And, you know, there's a jungle gym. That's how I feel, because, like, in the 2nd and 4th book, we're, like, especially in the 4th book, we are hyper constrained with a lot of our characters as to where they're going. And the second one as well, like, because there's such a frantic pace in everything that happens with the 2nd and 4th book that I feel like we don't get to just kind of live in the cities or in the actual environment. And so far, in only 3 chapters, I feel like I've learned so much about Seven Cities and the various places in it, and I love it. Very into it.
We're like walking around. We're talking to people.
Yeah,
you know?
it's crazy. You know, there isn't this tension of imminent rebellion, and it almost feels nice. Crazy.
And to build on what you said about Midnight Tides, and then we should move on. Like, Midnight Tides, in contrast, almost every scene is people not communicating well with each other and misunderstanding each other.
Yes.
You know? But let's stay on purpose here. So, Inge, the chapter opens, and we'll get to Absalar in a sec, but we catch up with Leomin, who's in the desert, fleeing with what's left of the rebel army. What do you think is going to become of him and the Book of Dryjna?
Why, if you can refresh my memory quickly, why is he separated from his demon?
Leomin?
Was that not?
He never had a demon.
That's Leoric.
Leoric.
You're thinking of, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Got it. What do I think is going to happen? I don't know what the hell even, to be honest, when I think about his character and like what happened, I blanked. So reading this part was just kind of like, okay, I don't remember any of these people, and mostly Leo, but now I kind of do now that we're talking about it again. But I have no idea. I have a feeling they're going to have to meet up with someone at some point and something's going to happen, but it's honestly too soon to tell for me.
But do you I think when we were reading House of Chains, I think there was some skepticism about Leomin, or I don't know. There was definitely an energy this show had about him, and I wonder where you feel about Leomin now, AJ.
Honestly, so just this book in general, coming into chapter 1, I'm like, yes, I know these characters, blah, blah, blah. But simultaneously, I'm like, man, I don't have a fucking clue what happened in House of Chains. Like, I don't remember anything. So like this chapter and part of the next chapter was just me kind of like hanging out with friends and just like, hey, what have you been up to? I don't remember.
But I think the book kind of works well in that way. I feel like it's like offering you a friendly hand these first few chapters.
There was at least one part where a character is like, yes, this happened explicitly. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool, thank you. But no, if I feel bad for Leomin, from what I can remember about him from House of Chains, he was always kind of just like a smart person. But, caught in the,
In House of Chains, like, he fully duped not only the characters in the book, but the readers, because the dude was just high, or appeared to be high, 24/7, and was just kind of biding his time. And I feel like that's, for me, I was fully tricked by that for a long time, so I was a little annoyed with him, because everyone's like, he's cold iron, he's so smart, but he's in a pit, high all day. I don't really know how to take that, you know? And I am very excited to see him be much more... He's no longer reactive. Like, he was very reactive in the 4th book, and I feel like now he is the one making the decisions, and he is going to be causing the conflicts rather than just kind of, zigging and zagging according to what else is happening.
I more feel bad because I feel like he's going to wind up like killing Korab or something, because Leomin's so like off the Dryjna train, and Korab's like, nah, dude, it's fine.
Nah, I think I don't know if he's going to kill Korab. I think Korab's with him till he dies. Also, Korab, new favorite character.
Korab's around, baby.
I've loved Korab since he blew himself up with the helmet.
That was true. I forgot about him. I just like...
That's all I think about.
If every Korab scene ends with him being like, all right, time to get high while I eat a toad.
Yeah, dude.
I'm a happy man.
Such a great... There's the Leomin of the feathers. You know,
the whole feathers thing where as he talks, it just gets more and more like birds.
Well, and just as soon as he says the sentence, he's like, that's going to get you high. And he's like, it's fine. I love it. Except the feathers. And I was immediately like, I see where this is going. I was like, I've been there. We get it. Fuck. Feathers.
So, Josh, Shaik's uprising has, like, been ended, right? So, like, they're talking about Malazan reoccupation of the continent and then spreading imperial reign. So, like, setting aside the stakes we had in Felison as a character, how do you feel now that the Malazans are reoccupying 7 cities?
You know, it's a weird area because we talked with Steve after the 4th book about like the very complicated nature of imperialism and all of the good and bad that it entails. And right now, we are definitely seeing a lot of talk about the good of it, you know, like, oh, stability brings in commerce, so the traders are very happy. In the prologue, they're like, those damn Malazans, now we can't beat the cripple to death and murder criminals in the streets, you know, and I was, and the young vagrant children can't kill dogs. So like it was very like, okay, those all seem like I don't like those things. I can't say I know your culture very well, but me as an outsider, I don't like killing dogs in the street. So we're seeing a lot of that kind of stuff, and I'm actually very curious to see if we're going to see like the other side of things, where like Malazans kind of move, you know, encroaching too far, ending things that are like, you know, that are really important to the people of Seven Cities. I don't know. We're definitely seeing a very Malazan focused, like, it feels very propaganda-y how much like what we're seeing right now of their retaking of the continent. So I'm excited to see if there's an underside to this.
I agree with that last thing you said. And how do you feel about the Malazans reoccupying?
Honestly, I'm not mad at it. They seem to be quite in need of a little bit of help. You can't stone dogs. You can't kill people for sacrifices.
So by they're in need of a little help, do you mean they were in need of being colonized? Is that what you were?
You know, I'm not a huge fan of colonization. However, in this case...
However...
This is a crazy way to start a sentence.
In this case...
I'm listening, Inge. I'm listening.
I think I might be here for it. We'll see what happens, but... Anything's got to be better than what they were doing. I respect their culture,
For who, though?
the
better for who?
Better for everyone.
Better for everyone. Interesting. Interesting.
I want the next time we have one of these chats, we're going to see a poster in India's room, and it just says colonization better for everyone, and she's going to have totally gone off the deep end.
Yeah, colonization, a notorious win-win type of thing.
I think that should be our next shirt.
Fucking Christ. I don't know. HA, you got a strong...
No, I pretty much come from where Josh is. Like, it does feel very propaganda-y, where it's like, oh, all this stuff is great that the Malazans are bringing. And even if it's not like, oh, this is great, it's to us living in like a, you know, the United States or whatever. It's like, yes, this is adjacent to our society now.
Because it feels like... in the last book, we see, like, that was the exact same thing the Letheri say. You know, they're like, it's better for these uncivilized people for us to come in and help. And we see that it, like, literally crushes civilizations. Now, they're very different from the Malazan Empire. And the Malazan Empire is really pitched...
How are they very different?
The Malazan Empire is explicitly pitched to us in this series as coming in, changing as few local customs as possible to fit in with like the whole Malazan ethos, and then leaving the rest to what it originally was. I'm not saying that they are 100% good at it, but that is like, they are on the record as that is what they do.
Sure, I guess I just feel like the Malazan Empire still involves a lot of killing people, making them a colony, and taking all of their money. You know what I mean?
Remember, if they just surrendered in the first place, they wouldn't have died.
Exactly.
God.
Exactly.
That's our second t-shirt.
Yeah.
Fucking Christ. This is I didn't think I was going to be the 1 out of 3 of the 4 of us on it, but... So let's keep it rolling. Aj, we catch up with Karsa, and he's in the desert. He meets Samar Dev, and they have some stuff. We'll talk about Samar in a bit, but now that House of Chains is over, which is a book that had Karsa kind of as a major through line in it, where do you think Karsa's going from here, and what do you expect out of him?
Man, I mean, I feel like it's just going to be... Like, regardless of what's happening in the story, Karsa is always going to be his own storyline until he, like, you know, dips into the main storyline, kills some fools, and then dips back out and goes and does his own thing again. And I think really where we caught him in House of Chains just happened to be where he was dipping into everybody else's story. And now we're going to catch him where he, like, you know, he lives most of the time, which is just like doing his own thing. But I loved all his sections. I love Samar Dev. how she's a witch and also made a carriage that moves with your arms, and then it broke and then the man died. Yeah. It's just like, wow, this is great. I am like all in on this storyline. The stuff that happens in the later chapters is so good, but I really am having a hard time seeing how it's going to come back into the main storyline.
Two things. One, we actually haven't seen Samar do magic, right? We've just seen her be really smart so far.
I think in the town they go to, they talk about her being with the other witches, I think.
I just, like, there's maybe a part of me that wants her to not be good at magic and just really smart, and they're like, a smart witch? And because in a world that irrefutably has magic, that's fucking funny.
Yeah.
To me. And second thing, I feel like, AJ, to go off your Karsa thing, I really feel like I would love if in the next 5 books, Karsa just continually does a thing, and then like the consequences of that are like 12 chapters later. And it's just like, damn, why Karsa? Because I feel like that's like, he's just like a force in the world. Like, he's no longer a character, he is a force.
All right, Inge, let's get to, I would say, maybe the meat of the chapter. It's definitely like the biggest, most familiar face. We meet Apsalar first. She's like a nameless woman in the city. And then we have this whole section with her. She meets these 2 ghosts, and she's alone in Erlatan. She doing this thing for Cotillion. Now that she struck out on her own, how do you think she'll be by herself?
I love her so much. I love her so much. I was so excited. I did not know that she was the nameless woman. And then she was. And I was thrilled and excited and happy. I'm happy she's alone. Crocus Cutter was so annoying, just holding her back from greatness, as men do. And I don't know. I think that she's going to be great on her own. She's like kind of sad girl right now, but she's going to be fine. She doesn't really know what's going on, I feel, which is like kind of annoying. Like, she's just kind of like doing things, but not really knowing the reasons behind them, obviously, for whoever she's working for, Cotillion. And then having some of his memories, which is like weird, but like, I think that she's thriving in her own right. And I love the little shadow people that she found. I have no idea what they're doing or what they're up to, but they are hilarious. I think that they are going to be such a good team all together eventually when they start to be friends, which will happen. And yeah, I was so excited. This is the Apsalar that I always wanted, and now I have her.
I think you're pointing at something really true, because in the books previous to this, of course, she's a main character, I would say, but we're usually observing her through other people's lens. Do you mean? It's we're the bridge burners who are like, what's this weird girl here? What's her deal? And then we're Crocus Asider in Deadhouse Gates. And then, she keeps traveling in these parties, but here finally she's alone and kind of enters onto the stage in her own right, And she has 2 beefy sections in both chapters 1 and 3. She's on her whole quest, baby.
I'm obsessed. I have a question. Do you think that they're calling her a ghost, or they thought that she was a ghost for a reason in that chapter? They're like, you're a ghost. I'm not a ghost. You're a ghost. And she's like, I'm not a ghost. You're a ghost. Or is it just funny?
That is an impossible question, because Tellerast and Curdle are insane. It is impossible to say.
They're up to something.
They are.
I don't know. I think at that point it was just a goof and they were just being weird, but I just don't know.
I love when they call her not Apsalar.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very good. Can I just quick question? How old is Apsalar right now?
My guess is like 17.
Because when we were describing the nameless woman, I was like, this seems like it's too old to be Apsalar. She just man, interesting.
Also, a weird thing in the nameless woman section, I guess Apsalar's never heard of gay people. Because there's a weird remark where she's like, all the guards are men, so they're distracted by me. Would have been bad if there was a woman around, I don't know. What's going on? Do you mean?
Yeah.
It confounded me.
Yeah.
Have we met an openly gay character in the series?
Yeah, we have, yeah. So.
Okay.
But
your response makes me think that we don't know yet. That I don't know.
No, you have. I mean, Tavor's gay and,
duh. Fuck me. Main ass character.
Yeah. Anyways, anything any other hot takes on this section out of my other 2 co-hosts?
She just travels the Warren of Shadow now? That feels like I don't know. I really feel like the characters in this series are getting more and more laissez-faire with, like, maybe that's not the right word, but more and more just kind of, like, okay with just fucking with Warrens in ways that I'm like, are you sure? This feels like it could go bad pretty quick. Especially since no one still seems to understand how they work exactly. But no, I feel like we've already seen there's repercussions.
Yeah. I think at this point, she's so hitched to Cotillian's wagon, she's just like, well, I'm just gonna be Cotillion. I'm just gonna play the, assassin god.
What do you mean hitched to Cotillian's wagon?
He says where to go and who to kill, and she does it.
Right. She's an assassin. She can travel through the Shadow Warren just like Cotillion. I mean, I imagine Cotillion can do way more, but like, if Cotillion were doing his own job, he would be doing it this same way, just traveling through shadows and doing this stuff. So I think she's just like, oh, well, this is how it needs to be done. So this is what I'm doing. What do you take issue? You don't think she's like following orders, I guess, for lack of a better phrase?
That's what I thought she was doing.
Yeah, I have no comment.
I fully feel like when they were all on the island and Cotillion was like, well, I mean, you could leave or you could stay with Crocus. And she was like, made that decision or whatever. And the decision was like, oh, well, I'll just work for you. Like, I don't feel like...
That was at the Temple of Shadow. Come on, AJ.
Yeah, well, that whole thing, too. When we get there, I'm like, that whole part left my brain. I had no idea what was happening. I was like, fuck.
Anyway, I drove the show into a tree. We briefly talked about Samar Dev earlier. You have any big Samar Dev impressions?
Very, not really. I'm intrigued, but I don't know. I think that she seems interesting, I guess. Secret Witch, didn't see that coming.
Yeah. So to round out our discussion of Chapter 1, AJ, who are the nameless ones and what are they up to?
Come on. I don't know. I have no idea. I really wasn't expecting them to show back up in the book outside the prologue, and I really wasn't expecting them to show back up in chapter fucking 1, because now I feel like, oh, I have to know what they're doing, and I just do not. I have no idea.
They killed Mebra, everyone's favorite character.
Sure.
Who's Mebra?
Sure.
We've met Mebra.
What the fuck was Mebra do? I don't know what's going on.
He's in books 2 and 4.
He's the one who he's the one who gives Callum the Book of Drajna and then sells him out immediately to the Red Blades, which we then find out is exactly what happened. And then in the 4th book, they go to him for information, but I think they're betrayed on the way or something.
Josh,
I think Callum meets him during Callum's quest.
I don't remember.
Wow.
I don't know, India.
Wow. Yeah, India, I'm in the same boat. I had no memory of this fool.
Do you know who I always imagine Mebra as?
Steve Buscemi.
No. Like the opening of Aladdin?
That guy. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I hated Aladdin. Bad movie. Yeah.
Fun fact, actually, Aladdin is on the list that our film history teacher goes into, what's the word? Like subliminal Disney racism.
Oh, yeah.
Super fascinating.
Like, it's I wouldn't even call it subliminal. I would say it's part of the text. But anyway, before we get to chapter 2, we want to thank our Patreon people.
We'd like to give a hearty thank you to our new patrons: Luke, Seth, Perlon, Andrew, Garrett, Drew, Dustin, Mephisto, Danny, Fabrice, Dylan, Tyler, Frank, Philip, Justin, Dave, Kirk, Ryan, Tom, Brendan, Billy, Jeremiah, Zach, and Eric.
Damn, bro, I installed Patreon for my phone. I didn't know they keep coming in.
We're rolling in patrons, baby. Thank you so very much, everybody, for contributing to our Patreon. It really means a lot, as always. And it's always fun to come back in a new season and have like a huge list of people to read. It's just fun. So, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really stoked for the 6th season, baby. Woo! All right, let's kick it.
Chapter 2. In the realm of Shadow, Iskarol Pust meets with Cotillion and Shadowthrone. Shadowthrone dismisses his servant for a task, and Cotillion speaks with him. Cotillion leaves Shadowkeep and meets an ancient being named Edgewalker. They trade cryptic remarks about the legacy of Shadow, and then Edgewalker brings him to 3 dragons. The dragons are aspected to Warrens, and Edgewalker says they are only chained for ambition. Cotillion is looking for allies and wants to know if the dragons would ally with him in the impending war. Mappo looks through bones as the Carium wade through the waters of Readthrough. They speak together about memories, and the Carium decides they should travel to Trevor. Cutter, Solara, Felison Younger, Greyfrog, and Heberick travel through the desert. They want passage to Ototero Island. Baborg speaks of ghosts he sees, and Greyfrog hasn't heard from Baborg. Solara is pregnant. She thinks on where she has found herself and is worried about Greyfrog. Riders threateningly approach Solara and Felison, but Greyfrog kills them violently. Afterwards, Cutter and Baborg return, and Solara pretends nothing has happened. Smiles and Cork bicker until Smile throws a dagger in his leg. The 14th Army chases Leoman across the desert. Many soldiers are miserable. Fiddler and Kalam are catching up about the bridge burners. Fiddler thinks bad things are coming. Quickben joins them and speaks of Tavor and the adjunct's hidden plans for Kalam. Via Warren, Tashrin, and Dujek arrive at the camp. Quickben smothers suspicions around Tashrin. Far on a hill, Pearl and Lestara are spying on the scene.
I just had a great time reading these chapters. I don't know about you guys. Just want to share. It was great. I had nothing but good vibes from me. You know,
I read chapter 2 in a little park.
Oh,
nice.
Chapter 2, I think, was kind of the meatiest chapter. This cotillion scene is like
there's a lot
like
in it.
A heaping, hunking, helping a stew.
Yeah. Can I request just like a really Spark Notes, Cliff Notes version of what happened here at the throne?
I'm so thankful that you did that, AJ.
The throne is the less confusing part of the sequence. Like Iskarl Pust is there.
Just like the whole like. I'm talking about what happened here in House of Chains.
Okay, so AJ, we are in the Warren of Shadow at the throne that we've always known about, but then there was the physical throne in the world that we were at in House of Chains. And that's not where we were this chapter.
Right. Okay.
We're like in the Shadow.
This is a separate place. We've never been here before.
We have been here once or twice in the Shadowkeep because Quickben visits Shadowthrone here in the first book, and that's how we know that Quickben is was a servant of Shadow.
Who knew?
Right. Okay. That clears up so much. I thought this was like this was the whole Crocus Apsalar thing, like, because don't they do find the throne, right?
They find the physical manifestation of the throne, which is also important that it is kept in safety. Okay. Yes.
That is where I thought we were, and I was so lost. I was so lost.
And there's several thrones, because now we have found out that, like, the hold, one of the other holds, I can't remember which one said, has the hold of Talon, or Amtos Falak. That one is, they need to find that throne, and that is where Troll Sengar and Onrak, they're going to find that throne.
That's not the throne of Amtos Falak. That's the first throne.
The first throne. Sorry. But that is the other physical throne that we have heard of now. In addition to the throne that we went to in the fourth book with Cutter and Apsalar.
Okay.
Which is now held by Traveler. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
why I was like, they're saying Amanus, and I was like, I was pretty sure that's not what his name was.
Anamandaris is the other name of Shadow. What's his name?
Shadowthrone. Emperor Kellenved.
Yeah. His other name is Anamandaris. Okay. Yeah.
He has every character has 3 names. This is a
Cotillion.
Who's Amanus then?
Amanus is Shadowthrone.
That's what I thought.
Amanus is Shadowthrone. Okay. Ugh.
Ooh, a lot to clear up.
But so AJ, this whole first section takes place in the Warren of Shadow in the Shadowkeep, or at least the fragment of the Warren of Shadow that Shadowthrone commands, because apparently there's more that he doesn't fully control.
Yeah. So, Josh, there's this brief segment from a Iskarl Pust's point of view, but mostly this whole section takes place from Cotillion's point of view, which is not something we often see. Mm-hmm. So what did you think about being in his shoes? What did you think about their control of Shadow? What's going on in this realm? I mean, it was just, I almost don't even know what to chew on. There's so much that we learn.
I don't want to say anything about that. What I want to say is this scene cemented for me that this series is all about the sidekicks. Consistently in this series, there is a person who is too smart for their own good, and they are stretched too thin and working on too many fronts, and then we get to see this with the point of view of the person keeping them together. We got your Mappo Runts, now we got Cotillion who's keeping Shadowthrone together. I'm sure there are several others we've seen, but those are the two that stand out in my head right now. I feel like we don't get to see a lot of the like central leaders. We're usually seeing the people like slightly below them. And so in this case, I thought it was really interesting that like we have Cotillion who's like, he's doing his own thing, not fully even knowing where Shadowthrone is, but kind of being like, well, he's really smart. I'm just going to tie up the loose ends where I can. It was interesting because it's like a very, like he's doing the same shit that everyone else is doing that are mortals. It's just he's talking to dragons. That's his tying up loose ends, is talking to dragons and incredibly old, omnipotent, probably elder gods in the Edgewalker. Edgewalker's sick. Love Edgewalker. When he's like, you can call me a primordial force, I was like, you fuck, just say you're an elder god. I think he's Draconis, personally, because we haven't seen Draconis in a long time.
I love walking edges, you know.
And we don't have a lot of elder gods that we know of.
AJ, what was a takeaway for you from this section?
From this section of like Cotillion and Shadowthrone and the dragons and stuff?
Yeah.
It was cool. Like I said, I was confused about where we were, so I was spending a lot of time being like, man, I don't remember how we got here and blah, blah, blah. Which I think is funny that Josh brings up the quick pen visiting Shadowthrone part, because I literally listened to that part of Gardens of the Moon like 3 days ago, and somehow it left my mind. Anyway, I thought it was cool. I think Edgewalker's very cool. The image I have for Edgewalker in my head is dope. The part where Cotillion's like talking to the dragons, trying to reason with them, and they're all just like, no, I'm a big dragon. And Cotillion's like, all right, well, see ya. Yeah. Like, wait, no, come back. Yes. It's like, no.
Stay trapped forever.
Yeah. Hey, AJ, do you trust these dragons?
No. I don't think I think these dragons, I think I'm in the same boat as Cotillion, because I think he said it at one point. He's like, oh, I thought after you'd be locked up for so long, you'd like kind of have a change of heart or whatever. And like, damn, these dragons are fucking dumb, because like, just do some self introspection, like think about your place in the world. Think about how you got here, but also it seems like they didn't really do anything wrong. It's just outside forces were like, hey, stop it. But I don't know, man.
Ambition. They had too much ambition.
Was their only crime.
Yeah. Real quick, Peter, because there was a lot of info about dragons dumped, which makes me assume that dragons are going to be very important. So,
in fact, I have a quote here.
Yes, there is a quote. Go for it.
So earlier in the section, it says, standing stones are always half buried, Cotillion, and the makers were rarely ignorant of their significance of that. Overworld and underworld, And then later on, a few paragraphs later, they're talking and they say, you suspect, Cotillion, do you not, that dragons are at the heart of all that will come? Cotillion gestured to the chains. They reach through to the overworld, presumably. And that Warren is what? Just saying. It's there. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Caw!
Okay. Caw! So my question then was,
there was not as much excitement about the dragons as from.
So anyway, my question was, and we've probably talked about this before, but I just need a quick clarification. So the Alaint, which these three are, they're kind of like OG dragons, right? And now, do they have alternate forms? Because we've met other Alaint. I can't remember which ones. Maybe Animandar.
Solana was one, or Solana was one.
Is Solana one, or is Solana, because they mentioned her and I couldn't remember, but because there's
they say she's Alaint in Gardens of the Moon. Yeah.
Okay, so there's Alaint, which are like the OG dragons, and then there are Soul Taken, which are just like beings who have become dragons, but they're not like they weren't.
Well, you're actually mistaken
dragons.
there. Soul Taken has nothing to do with being a dragon. Soul Taken is a different type of shapeshifter.
Right, but they can be dragons. That's what I'm getting at. However,
many Soul Taken we meet are Soul Taken Alaint. So it's kind of just like it's a popular Soul Taken form to turn into a dragon.
Okay, got it. But they're probably not as powerful, assumedly, as the like legit Alaint.
I have no comment.
Okay. Yeah,
terrific. All right, let's.
Because I don't know about the power thing, because in Gardens of the Moon, when Animander Rake, I know he's Animander Rake, but he transforms and they say that he is like even bigger and like stronger than Solana is.
Yeah, but he's a full-on ascendant. So
sure,
even if
but
he
I
won't
was just saying
accept it,
he's
as they
assaulting
say.
it, so I don't think it's...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
All right, let's leave the Shadow Realm behind us, although we barely touched on so much of what happened there.
There's so much happening in this, like, 20-page section. It's crazy.
Maybe you can tell me some of it.
They even talk about Scavendari Bloodeye. They confirm his soul's alive. They talk about his head being crushed. They talk about the Tistandi kind of being a part of the sundering of Gerald Emerlane, you know?
What is sundering?
Just like breaking apart, the destruction of the realm. But I just kind of love the conversation because I think it pays off a lot of stuff that was set up earlier, whilst also
it like confirmed a lot of things. And then as I was reading it, I was like, if I was smarter, it would confirm a whole lot more too. I'm sure I'd figure out other stuff.
I will say sometimes it is doing that Malazan thing, especially as Scarl Pust and all the folks in the beginning are doing it, where it's just like people cryptically talking around whatever the thing is they're talking about, you know? Yeah. And it's just like, oh, it is that way, isn't it? Oh, yes, but not in the way you think it is that way, isn't it? Not. And it's like, sometimes, you know. All right, let's get back to the ethereal world. Raraku's flooded. India, we catch up with Mappo and Akarium. Akarium's just in the water. Mappo's looking at Crystal. He thinks Akarium's his Crystal. They're going to keep going. So what do you think's like?
But a lot of the same, Peter. I think a lot of the same is going to happen here.
Yeah, but here's what I was going to ask is, you know, for like a character that like is kind of forced to live in the present, Akarium is also like so kind of obsessed with his past, you know? Like, what do you think this means for him? And do you think it's like kind of trapping him?
I mean, I think it's for his own good. So maybe it is, but also it's kind of better that way for everyone else. So I don't know. I'm not a huge like Ikarium Mappo fan because
India, I'm sorry, you're wrong.
I know.
No, what you're just not vibing.
I'm just like I just don't care. Like it's supposed to be like, oh my god, this is so like sad.
I'm with India.
Exactly how I feel, India.
And I'm just I don't care.
I'm with India because I feel like we were so intensely invested in their storyline in book 2, and then like we saw them once in book 4, and now we're just kind of, and you know, there's the hints to Akarium in book 5 with the timepiece, and that's supposed to kind of be like, don't forget, there's some weird time shit with him. But the clues, the breadcrumbs are so far apart that it's not keeping me.
But to me, the cool glass of water of seeing all my friends is even double folded for these folks since I haven't seen them in like 4 fucking books. It's like Mappo Rut, baby.
I guess
here,
so, yeah.
Ikarium's taking a little dip. He's swimming over there, you know?
I gotta be honest too, though. They voice Ikarium like this in the audiobook. And
do they really?
For me, it's just like he has such a soft voice for such a large figure. I wonder if it was on purpose.
Well,
I imagine Akarium as a soft boy.
He's a soft boy TM, for sure.
It's like hard to remember that is the voice for Akarium.
Now, when he like goes into a rage and then afterwards loses his mind, is he still high-pitched?
I'll let you know.
Sounds... Oh, yeah, okay. Well,
this is the different voice than they used initially. That's the thing.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know you were back to audiobooking, Inge.
I'm not back to audiobooking. I'm an audiobooker when I need to be.
I didn't
have the wherewithal to pick up the physical book. So I audiobooked this time. But I do have, like, I am going to read it when I have more time, but I've been listening while driving type thing. That's how I've been reading this one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, back to the actual book itself. Aj, what side of this fence you fall on? Were you excited to see our big boys?
Fucking
Christ, I'm the only one on the show.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know if excited is the word, because honestly, like my experience with them, I read the first third of Deadhouse Gates, and I haven't really like, I don't know. I don't remember what happens with them. I mean, I know broad strokes, but like specifically, I have no idea. So, like, seeing him, I was like, oh, yes, I know these characters, and I know that they do stuff in previous books and blah, 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 but there's no, like, emotion attached to it, I guess. Yeah, it's like, oh, I know Ikariam just came back up in fucking Gardens of the Moon as, like, the person who, like, talks about what the years will be or whatever the fuck. Like, that... and so every time Ikariam pops up in these books, I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. I wonder what's happening. But, like, right now, there is not really any emotion. So I'm excited in terms of like figuring out what's going to happen, but it didn't feel like these two didn't specifically feel like a hug, really.
Well, let's leave it there then and turn our attention to a whole fellowship of characters that is crossing the desert. And I just want to touch in with each one of them and get where we're at. AJ, so why don't you pick one of these 5 and let me know how you're feeling?
Oh, man. Okay. So I guess actually Felicen Younger is just like her role in these. I don't remember if they're in the 3rd chapter, but her role feels so just like she's a little girl. Like it doesn't feel like I kind of feel like we've regressed with her in terms of like her being a character in a way. Because really all we see of her is like Grey Frog eats that guy and she like didn't want to look. And that, and I know we're like still very early on in the book, but I don't know. It didn't feel like the same Felicen Younger that we knew in House of Chains.
Interesting. Like you felt a disconnect.
Yeah, I did. I felt a little like, oh, this isn't who I remember her being, but I guess
well, her mom did die.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, like, yeah, definitely.
She did have some changing events that might have caused her to now be a little more.
Yeah, that's
changing events.
That's fair, and that is fair.
Yeah. Also, I think Peter's right. We've only had like one scene.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough to say. I'm excited to see more of her. Honestly,
me too. I love her so much.
Yeah, I don't want to say like I'm not interested in her character. I was just saying it did feel.
Can't believe you, AJ. Insensitive.
Yeah, I can't believe you said that.
So insensitive.
Okay.
AJ, if you could edit it so it sounds like you said you don't care about her, that would be sick. Love that.
Yeah, I know. I don't care.
Just a quick note.
Josh, why don't you pick one of the remaining 4 of this gang? What do you think? Where are you at now with them? What are you expecting out of them in this book?
Haboric is a character that I feel like I love and hate so much all the time. But right now, I'm thinking I'm more on the love train. I really enjoy crazy out of his gourd talking to Ghost Haboric. And sometimes lucid, it sounds like. I don't know. I'm kind of into it because now let me say this. As long as I don't have to be POV. I think personally, I prefer non-POV Haboric coming in like, what up? I'm Ghost Hands and doing something, and then he's gone again, and I don't have to worry about, his sanity breaking 24/7.
Instead of Jade Spaceship Haboric.
Yeah, Jade Spaceship Haboric's a little heavy.
I really like Haboric because to me, the Malazan characters I always connect the most with are the ones who don't have it all together. And Haboric does not have it all together. And furthermore, sometimes I'm actively angry about how unhelpful he is being,
Yeah.
And I think that's it's an interesting tension and feeling I go with that character. So, yeah, I definitely get along with him. Inge, why don't you pick one of these remaining 3?
That's a tough one, because I feel like I should pick, like, the OG, which would be Crocus, Cutter, but I have zero desire to. So, we're going to go with one of our noob friends. Like, I guess I don't want to pick the demon, so I guess I'll go Scalara. Also, okay. She does have some interesting little tidbits of info. So she is pregnant now. Crazy. Wonder what is a Malazan baby? Like the last Malazan baby we saw was like a teenager in 3 days. So
shit.
We don't know what this looks like. We don't know what this world is like with child. So I'm intrigued to see, and and it's also just like a change of pace. Like these kinds of stories are just super different from Malazan as a whole. So I'm excited to see how that story unfolds, to be honest, because it's just different than what we're used to here. And I like the character. She seems like also the demon. What is its name?
Grey Frog.
Grey Frog.
Yep. Doesn't.
You can tell we love this fucker.
he like doesn't use telepathy with her. Why?
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. I want to know really badly.
I like want to know. So I'm just really interested in what goes on there. And then like, just to touch on Crocus, because like I don't want to leave him out. Will he ever see Absalar again? Is it over? Is it over?
I hope they meet again.
So that's my literal only care about Cutter Crocus.
I think I like the like these scenes and these chapters in the beginning a lot because it's so much about like the rogues of the series. Do you mean just like, you know, there's some scenes in the army, but it's mostly just like, oh yeah, here are the random people that are all scattered throughout 7 cities and they're all having various difficult times, you know? And I just like checking in on where they are, what they've been up to, and where their journey is taking them. So I really liked this scene with the 5 of them, even if it's, I don't know, I feel like it's more just touching base. And I mean, I love Cutter, so always glad to get a little more of the kid.
Yeah.
We didn't talk much about it, but it is so interesting. We've said before we haven't got to see inside of Absalar's head, but her like feelings on her relationship and like, you know, failed sort of desired romance with Cutter is like, it's so young adult fantasy. It's like the most young adult fantasy part of this book, but then she like horrifically tortures someone and like, you know, breaks their arm in half. So then it's gone. It's very
the duality of human, you know?
The duality of man. I love this boy. Crack arm in half, twist behind back.
You know, we've all had an emotional crisis and then just absolutely murdered a man.
Yeah.
How else do you get over your emotional crisis?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I was gonna say, I think Apt is the better demon. I'm over Grey Frog, you know? I think for me, I'm going back to the OG, you know?
I just am so enamored with the way that Grey Frog communicates.
Love how he talks.
It's so good.
Yes.
It's so funny every single time.
I agree. It doesn't get old.
Yeah.
It will never get old.
I do like how there's that one scene where it's like, and then he ate their skin or like whatever. It like
he sucked out
drank their brains
like, what happened? And it's like glib. I don't know. It's very good. It's very
he like lied about it at first. He's like, I found horses. He's like, but what about the blood?
All right, so we cut out to the army. They're in the desert. They're chasing Leomin, and they've defeated Shaik. But AJ, I wonder what you make of the prowess of this army.
We're definitely made to think they're just a bunch of fool dummies, but I think really what it is they're all really good at one thing, and that is like doing their one part in a battle or whatever. So I think they're just going to be goofy the whole time, and then at one point there's going to be a battle, and they're going to just fucking destroy. Like they're going to fucking kick ass, and then they're just going to go back to being goofy. You know, that's the bluff that I'm waiting for is like, oh, they've been really good the whole time. But I mean, it's so much fun though to just like be in the camp and have them all just being goofy and goofy fun times, you know? Yeah.
I really like that Steve took the really easy joke, you know, like when you call a big dude tiny, and just made this incredibly angry and likable character named Smiles. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. Minge, what's your face of disgust?
I'm bored by them.
Really?
Yeah, I don't find them that, like, whenever I'm just like, why are we doing this? I don't care. That's really what it is for me. It's like, why are you doing it? Like, there's banter that I enjoy, and then there's the banter that I'm just like, next. And I absolutely feel that way when we're at the camp.
Inge, I mostly feel the same as you.
Yeah, you guys like the Tehol and Bug, like, not intelligent, but just like the higher level, like, back and forth joke stuff, rather than just like, ha, I threw a knife at your leg.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, and I don't even think Peter really loved Tehol and Bug. Did you, PB?
No, I think the reason the bantering hits me differently is because, like, I feel like in other situations, I get the sense there's more, like with Tehol and Bug, there's like more character there. Do you mean? And I understand it's part of their relationship and what's going on, where sometimes when it's just like the soldiers being soldiers and we're all hanging out, shooting the shit.
Yeah, what could be better than this?
It doesn't feel like, and it just feels like I don't actually feel like I have a good sense of these characters or am that invested in them outside of like time to see some soldiers joking around, you know?
Who even are you guys?
I want to say real quick, I have such a different take on this. I don't think this scene is meant to be funny. I think this scene is meant to be like, look, like the tensions in this army are so fucking high. like all of these jokes are just kind of like little attacks at each other that result in one of them getting fucking stabbed in the leg. Like I don't think it's meant to be like funny, good banter. It's like meant to be kind of shitty feeling.
Like it's not banter, it's just people harassing each other.
It is super not fun banter to me. It is like these people are on edge and they need a fight or something because they're about to break.
I agree with that, and that even makes it less enjoyable. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, Josh.
That take is like blowing my mind. I really don't agree with it at all.
Really?
So, that's fine.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I fully agree as well. So, Pete, once again, you're in the minority of the show.
Yeah, I guess so. Just me out here alone today. Near at the end of the chapter, Fiddler and Kalam are talking in the desert, and then Quick Ben joins them eventually, and it's kind of like old chums catching up, and we kind of haven't seen these guys hang out in a while. Josh, what you make of seeing these guys back together, and then Duzek returns to the story, and we haven't seen Duzek in 3 books.
Yeah, love it. I love Kalam's concern for Fiddler so much. It is so wholesome to me, but it's also very fun that I really like that, like, even though they are so close, like, you know, they there's been some time apart. They've experienced some very crazy things apart from each other. So like Kalam's like, I want to tell Fiddler to fucking retire, but I don't know if we're that type of dudes anymore. It's like, and they're trying to figure out this like strange relationship they have. Because when it comes down to it, like the Bridgeburners relationships are just a series of shitty events that have happened to them that have brought them together. And they're also like the last 3 that haven't given up entirely, which I think really changes the dynamic of their relationships. I love it. I think it's one of my favorite like relationships to kind of think about in the story right now.
Josh, I think like talking about how Kalam is unsure how to approach Fiddler, I think that is best illustrated by when Smiles and Cork are talking, and they're like, oh, he doesn't even want to go by Fiddler anymore because of like he doesn't want that life anymore.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's an interesting point combined with that quote, Josh.
It's like he wants to be Strings, but like the army needs him to be Fiddler. Right. And it's a strange pull.
Man, I love Fiddler.
Me too.
And
I did not expect to give a shit about his character the way I do.
And I think what's great about this scene is kind of what you're mentioning is when I read the scene, you can just tell it rings of people who know each other really well. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that it's not like them, I don't know, there's just an honesty there about kind of just friends caring about each other and not in a faux way. So, and then Quick Ben shows up, ruining everything.
Also, Tatron's got these 2 bodyguards. The last time we had people with like names and no other information, it was secretly Tatron. So I don't trust fucking anybody that he brings.
Yeah, Tatron's around too, I guess. Any other thoughts on chapter 2, or should we roll things along?
Pete, you can't forget about the Pearl and the Star a bit.
Oh yeah, at the end we check in just a little bit. We don't really get a big chunk of meat, but we do see Pearl and Lestara.
We get some good banter though. We get some little, picking at each other.
I feel like that's just Steve. I mean, obviously he's setting up other stuff, but I feel like it's also just him being like, oh yeah, don't worry. We're going to they're a part of the story. We're following them this book. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
That feels like such a not Steve move though. I feel like the Steve move is to go the whole book and then all of a sudden they show up in chapter 21 and be like, we've been here the whole time.
Actually,
and then in the interview, you ask Steve and he's like, well, remember in this chapter, the curtain rustled. If you read the subtext, if you look at the first letter of each line on this page, it spells Pearl and Lestara. The clues were there. You just had to find them.
First, he's like, I don't remember the books that well, but
page 15. Yeah.
I just love seeing characters we know. You know, it's a joy. It's like you almost forget that the 6th book in the series could be built on your love of characters.
I agree, though.
Yeah, at the end of this chapter, it ends with Pearl saying, "Gods, we were made for each other," or whatever, which was just like, so good.
So nice.
It was at that point where I was like really thinking, like, it feels like we are I guess compared to Midnight Tides, we are like foot off the gas, just like coasting. Like we are just cruising down the highway at, like a brisk whatever. Whereas Midnight Tides, I felt like we had the fucking pedal to the metal the entire time. And I mean, we had to work through an entire story in just one book. So I get that. But this just feels like, hey, here are some of your friends. You know them. They're still doing stuff. Like we're just chilling, It felt like 200 pages of chilling. It was great.
That's crazy. To me, I feel like this book starts off with a bang. Do you know what I mean? I mean, like, I know what you mean. It's like, especially compared to like chapter 1, trolls running into town, like the action's happening, war, boom, boom. But like, I don't know, like Apsalar goes on like a whole quest. We learn all this stuff. Quintilian does all this stuff. I mean, I know what you mean. We're touching base with everything, but it's not like, I don't know. I still think a lot of stuff happens in these chapters and we're like getting off to a start, the story's in motion, Yeah,
it definitely is. I think just the scale of everything is like this one person is doing this one thing and then this one person is doing this one thing. Like everything that happened in Midnight Tides felt like, okay, well this, Trull did whatever, but that affects the entire thing because it's all connected because all of this stuff happens in one book. So like, I know all of this stuff is connected, obviously, but it just feels like we're getting bits and we're not getting like
I do agree with you on that. I mean, the highest stake thing really that we see is the 14th chasing Leoman's army into the desert.
Right.
This is the thing that is like the grandest stakes. Everything else is mostly like people chilling out doing random things.
There is no like imminent threat right now, except for like, the main overarching threat of like whatever the crippled god is. But like, there's no apocalypse coming, there's no storm. There's no, moonspawn hanging over the city. Like all the other books had things that felt like imminent threats. And this one is kind of just like, well, we're in the aftermath of this apocalypse. So
let me ask you that then. I mean, if there's no imminent threat, I mean, especially compared to Midnight Tides, which you go into and you're like, you kind of know it's the story of Trull Shorning. Right. Like, what do we imagine the conflict of this book is? I mean, do you have any impression at all?
I mean, we haven't gotten any Tavor stuff, really. So I feel like once we start seeing whatever Tavor is up to, or hearing whatever Tavor is up to, if we even get that in this book, I don't know, that's when stuff is going to start, like, happening again. Because right now, a lot of the stuff feels pretty disconnected from, like, what the Empire is doing. And I feel like that's been the main source of kind of conflict throughout the other books.
And whatever those nameless ones are up to.
Yeah, or there's just going to be some huge fucking dragon attack or something. Like, I really just, I don't know. I feel like we could go anywhere, honestly.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. All right, let's kick things into the final chapter. Chapter 3. In Erlatan, Apsalar wonders why Mebra was a target in the first place. Quintilian visits her then, and they speak of her list, Tellerist and Curdle, Edgewalker, and the future. Apsalar returns to the tavern then, and is told somebody has been in her room. Apsalar decides to return to the scene of the crime. Here, she incapacitates the Pardue woman following her. Her secret boss is from the Trigal Trade Guild. Apsalar then finds Mebra's notes under the pavestones and reads them. Samar, Dev, and Karsa approach Moraval Keep together. They are greeted by soldiers outside, but they say Malazans have not been seen in a long time. Karsa enters the keep, finding traps, and ends up fighting a beast. Outside the keep, Samar Dev speaks with the captain about the strange sounds coming from inside. Karsa kills the beast. The Toblakai then emerges filthy, and dragging the beast's body along with him. There are no Malazans in the keep. Korab and Leoman are taking the army to Yucatan. Years ago, a famed battle took place there, where the first sword of the Empire, Dasim Tor, is said to have died. However, Leoman corrects him, saying he reluctantly ascended to become Desambre, the Lord of Tragedy. Fiddler talks with Bottle, and then they watch Nil and Nether call upon their ancestors. They see them commune with the Wiccan and see Bolt's ghost. He says the Wiccan do not belong there. Quickben leads a party in the Imperial Warren. However, they have become lost, and something massive steps out of chaos to follow them. It's time to go. We mentioned it earlier, AJ. What do you make of Cotillion and Apsalar's relationship?
I mean, I feel like for Apsalar, it's just like, well, this is the life I have now because I was possessed by a god for a little while. And so this is kind of like what I'm good at, where I'm at. So whatever Cotillion needs me to do, that's what I'm going to do. And I feel like from Cotillion's side, it's like, I feel like Cotillion kind of feels guilty, for what he's done to Apsalar, but is also just kind of like, well, I have this tool, so I might as well use it. Like, I feel like it's like in the last, or in House of Chains, Cotillion and Apsalar have this whole conversation about like her feelings about Crocus and all this stuff. And I feel like Apsalar has kind of resigned herself to be like, well, I'm a tool of the rope now. Like, I'm just going to be killing people and doing whatever. And Cotillion's like, well, no, I mean, you had love and blah, blah, blah. And so I think the farther we go into this book, it's going to be more of Cotillion trying to like kind of serve like penance for what he has done to Apsalar, like how he has kind of upended her entire life, not kind of fully has upended her entire life.
Do you think he's a good influence on her?
No, I wasn't expecting to have a hard time answering that. I don't think so. I mean, I think so. Yeah, do I think he's a good influence? No. But I feel like now he is trying to be one because he's like, oh crap, I've left this child with nothing. And so now I need to like help model her so she's not just a murder machine.
I do worry because he like said this very vague thing, like, and like she was like, yes, I'll do these few things and then I'll be free. Or he said, and then you'll be free. But then he grimaced, or like there was a sentence about like what he did after saying that then felt like not great.
It felt like the implication. I know what statement you're talking about. It felt like the implication was like, you'll do what you need to do and then you'll be dead. Like,
yeah, that's what it felt like to me too. Yeah.
Josh, what do you think of this kind of follow up to what the scene we saw earlier? She kind of returns to the scene of the crime. She reads all this stuff. She talks to the Trigall Trade Guild spy. What'd you make of all that?
I don't really know yet, honestly, because I don't know. It was It was one of the few times I feel like that Apsalar has made a decision of her own. Like she decided, I'm curious and I want to go look into this. And so I found that interesting. Also, like, we can't skip over, she walked through Letherus in the Shadow
Realm,
right?
Okay.
Which was fucking bonkers. And that was wild. But it was an interesting choice to me that there was the Trigall Trade Guild that was there. I did not see that coming. I guess if I had to guess, the importance of that is that she needs to get somewhere fast pretty soon here, and it's going to be convenient that she knows a Trigall Trade member's there. I guess maybe that's what that's going to come up. I'm not really sure yet. And then finding those like things was the tablets was interesting. What was the note that was older? I can't remember. I just read it yesterday, but my mind's blanking right this second. There was the one from a while ago that hadn't been broken. Oh, it was with Haboric.
How Haboric
right?
is like he's going to destroy everything.
He has the power to destroy everything, and then Apsalar's like, that's weird. I wonder why was with Shaik. Also, that really cemented for me completely disparate thought, there's so much information that we as readers know, and I'm constantly astounded by how well Steve chooses who gets that information in the books. Like, we know all the intricacies of Haboric, and also that Shaik was Felisin, and just like all these other characters all over the place have their own, perspective on things and the stuff that they know and don't know. And it's really interesting how that influences like how they are interpreting information and how differently we interpret that same information as the reader. Oh, that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I think it's something that sometimes can be aggravating, but I think overall the way that all the different characters, different interpretations of the events kind of bleed together, I think creates probably a more interesting mosaic than just having like everyone on the same page or whatever,
Yep.
India, so we come in and we have this whole sequence. Karsa goes into the keep. We cut to Sam Ardev. We cut back and forth. Boom, boom, boom. What you make of this whole scene?
Karsa is an animal. Did he kill one of those ka-cha-cha-cha-cha-chas? The short tail.
Ka-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
Those little
I don't.
Those little lizard things, the cha-cha-cha-chas. Yes.
Oh, it was not a Kachin-Shima, was it?
I don't know. I just thought because it had a short tail, it was a lizard, so I figured I'd ask.
No, I think.
You know what? I didn't catch that, but it should have had swords for arms.
Yeah, I think it was more like a demon situation.
I don't know. It could be anything, and I would believe it.
It could be anything. Yeah.
I did enjoy that. I think he's funny sometimes. I like when he when he's gonna do something, he's like, "Stop talking, witness." and then just goes and does it. But
it very much feels like he's like, oh, I have a catchphrase. I have to say my catchphrase.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So
he's a bit of a showman. You know?
Yeah. And then like when he like breaks the door, everyone's just like, oh my God. And I don't know. I like Karsa. I think that they're just easy to digest. There's nothing to unpack. We're just living in the moment. Those are the parts that are more enjoyable because, and I feel like that has kind of been how it kind of was for these first chapters where like, yes, there are things obviously that I don't know, but I'm not trying as hard to decode things. Which is like super refreshing.
That I gotta say though, guys, the fight scene, badass.
The fight scene ruled.
I just thought it was a great kind of almost like slapstick thing, Damien, to like keep
There's a moment
away.
To like the people outside, like any moment now, and the dude's getting his feet bathed in mint, chewed with oil in the mouths of slaves. What a sentence that was.
Yeah.
Also, like the beast falls on Karsa's balls, and he's like, no, and like shoves it off real quick. Like, come on.
And then Karsa gets thrown down the shithole and lands face first in some shit. And then just
also we don't even talk about the fact that we just learned there's giant stakes in there, and he doesn't even bat an eye at the fact that he missed them because it's Karsa and he's blessed.
It's like a full-on comedy sequence.
Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, horrifically brutal. Like Karsa has a piece of skin just flapping over his eye.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
funny.
It's really good.
It is good.
So Josh, afterwards we cut to the army, and the Wiccans are there, and they're kind of focused, and we see Nil and Nether commune with their ancestors and the ghosts of their people. They speak with Bolt. What do you make of the Wiccans without Cotillion and their place in this army?
This is my favorite scene, this book. It could possibly be my favorite scene in the series. It is so fun. It is so funny. It is so wholesome. I love every moment of this Fiddler and Bottle scene. But I'm reluctant to feel that way because Bottle has something in his shadow, and there is some unknown force that is definitely sort of directing him. So that worries me a little bit. But there's something else. He like mentions that there's something else. Yeah. His grandma. God, I want to meet his fucking grandmother so bad. So I loved that whole relationship. I love that we keep having Malazan sorcerers who are like way more powerful than they have any right to be, but they just kind of like fly under the radar because they're like, God, but if they find out I'm good, then I'm important, and that gets me killed. And I love that. I love that sort of philosophy. It's very funny. In terms of the Wiccans, I mean, beyond the whole mother yelling at them thing, which is very funny. I don't know. I just feel like the Wiccans are being absorbed, and like they have their own identity, but like I feel like it's slowly moving from the Wiccans and the Malazans to the Wiccan Malazans. You know what I mean? They're definitely becoming part of this army in a way. I love it. I think it feels very organic to me how they've become part of this army. Big fan of it.
Interesting.
I love that the dog bit one of the people in the company, and Tamal had to come get it off because no one else could get it. And it's like, I don't even think it was the big dog. I think it was the yappy one.
Oh, yeah. The dogs. They're a through line, baby.
Love the dogs.
Fucking dogs.
I do love how Bottle was just like, oh, no, I don't use warrants. I use holds. It's like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah, casual.
Great.
It's, yeah.
Who the fuck's your grandma, Bottle? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, seriously, where are you fucking from? And they're like, let's eat one of your lizards. And Fiddler's like, he just hears like that he's keeping lizards, and he's like, something's up. Yeah. Whatever the fuck. However he knows that shit. I love it.
Ange, if you had to pick one, Kalam or Quick Ben, who would you pick?
Quick Ben. Sorry. Quick Ben has the sauce, baby.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
I am with Josh. Hard pass. Kalam every day.
Fucking die.
Well, I guess I'm the minority here.
No, AJ's with you, India. We're 50-50.
I just don't know.
Never mind. AJ's not with you.
I really like Quick Ben. I do really love Quick Ben and all the shit that he's up to.
Quick Ben's fun in Memories of Ice. I like that Quick Ben.
I like Quick Ben in Gardens of the Moon, too.
I just think my problem is Quick Ben is playing, to use the meme, Quick Ben is playing 4D chess, and my brain can't comprehend it.
Sure.
And I much more can understand Kalam and what he's up to. typically, because he
but
just
Josh,
uses his cool knives.
Yeah, but Josh, you just take your hand off the wheel and you let Quickben take the wheel, you know?
Yeah,
take it from my hands with your 7 Warrens. Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, it's true.
That's how I feel, but...
Oof. I gotta say, for some reason, maybe it's just been since it's been a while since we've recorded. We're about to record the interview with Steve. I guess I had the feeling that this was going to be contentious in some way. Like, I feel like I had kind of like a knot in my chest to make this episode, you know?
I mean, you made it contentious by asking us to pick 2 of the best boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we just liked these chapters. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's all there really is to it, you know?
I like this book. It's much less sad than the previous one so far. That might change. You never know.
It's so different from Midnight Tides, too.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll see. Anyway, any other closing thoughts as we wrap up our first big Bonehunters episode?
Oh, yes. Quick thought. This book is too big for a mass market paperback.
So huge, dude.
Why is it not taller and thinner? Please. Like, I have to go buy a bookmark now because I'm a monster and I typically just do this or remember what page I'm on.
You just leave it open.
You just leave it open?
Face down open?
Yeah, all my books are ruined. They are like, yeah, like...
You are a psychopath.
They're all, yeah, like, see, like this is Memories of Ice. This is an oak. This is as big as you can do that. Like, I can leave it like this, and then, yeah.
You'll just leave it unfolded while the rest of the day.
No, like, while I'm reading a chapter, if I put it down or something. If after a chapter, I just close it, and I remember where I was.
Okay, this is less...
But I can't do that with this. I have to finish a chapter in one sitting, because I can't unfold it. And I need a bookmark because, great, I know I'm in chapter 4, but where could that be? Look at this book. It's too big.
Alas.
Just hanging out with my friends.
Yeah. It doesn't make good radio, but I'm not, just enjoying.
Also, the book cover is a little edgy for me.
It's pretty edgy, yeah.
I gotta say, those book covers I don't enjoy, They're not
that. There was a whole conversation about book covers in the Discord a couple days ago. Man, they go some places.
The French and Polish ones are out of this fucking world, I think, is the ones that I think people were talking about.
I think the French ones are unequivocally like the best, right?
Yeah.
They rule. There's a lot of great cover art, including the original ones, and then some of the newer ones or the international editions. But like those mass market ones, I think are just, to me, they're very nondescript and just like, I don't know. It's just a big shrug, It's nothing for me. I love. Do you guys know the original Gardens of the Moon cover? That like I just love a good.
Oh, I've seen it. It's so 80s.
Yeah, I just love that vibe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
India, how do you feel about the feel of these books physically?
India, if you've never seen this image, I'm putting it in the chat now.
I don't even know who it's supposed to be, that cover, but it's
that's what I keep thinking with all these covers. I'm like, what is this? Like the Midnight Tides one? Like what the fuck was that? What is this
India,
chest?
Click at that link in the chat. It's wild.
The Midnight Tides chest. You read the book.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
It's just so old school.
Yeah, I hate that. That looks like a romance novel.
Yes.
But like, who is it even supposed to be, Yeah,
who are either of these people?
That's a good question. No, it's definitely Perrin.
That's Perrin?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess so.
I feel like yes.
Okay, everyone shut the fuck up.
Who do you think it could be?
The Japanese covers. Oh, okay. I've sent you a link to
visual media on the podcast.
Oh my god, if you've not... Oh, the Polish covers are so good too. Okay, but you guys need to click that link, scroll to the bottom, don't read anything, and just click the Japanese covers. The Japanese cover is an anime boy, and behind him is a tapestry of the Norman conquest, it looks like.
Oh, wow. His head is so small.
The second one is Moonspawn, and that is not how I imagine Moonspawn. And again,
I think it looks pretty good.
It's very cool.
I don't know who that boy
The third one is definitely Whiskey Jack, because it's
Third one's definitely Whiskey Jack.
The first one's probably, I would guess, Crocus, because he's not in armor, and I would say the second one is Perrin.
Guys, this is radio poison.
AJ, our producer, how's this for the radio? Is this radio?
The moral of the story is please go look at these covers, and then click one tab over to the Polish ones, because they are badass. Holy shit.
Like, Fellison here as an anime girl is like... She seems to be having too good of a time for that book. I don't know if they read the book. Fellison is not chilling out and having a good time.
Are you looking
at
the second book now? I didn't think of it. Let me go to Dead House Gates.
I'm just saying, she is notably having a bad time in that book.
Wait, which ones are we looking at?
Here, I just linked it to you guys.
Fucking Christ.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Which one?
That's Daenerys. Why does she have dragons? That's Daenerys.
It is just they did Daenerys.
Oh, she is in chains.
And then who's the next
number
picture?
2? Is it Quick Ben or is it?
Maybe it's Quick Ben, but that's a weird choice for Deadhouse Gates.
But why is there a bat? Is it Diker? Maybe it's Kalam?
Oh, it is Kalam because he has the Book of Drajna.
I think book 3 is Diker, although he looks full Jesus there.
I'm scared of these.
Wait, why would Diker be in book 3 though?
I don't know. There's he's at the butterfly battle. I forget the name of that
Why
one.
do they all say Deadhouse Gates?
But book 3 is Memories of Ice, dude.
No, but Deadhouse Gates is split into 4 editions.
See now. God, that's cool. Okay, that is definitely do occur. And the 4th one is, I guess, Crocus, maybe?
I think it's Crocus. I think it's Crocus in the Azath. They only translated the first 2 books in Japan.
Guys, this is so cool. Those are incredible. All right, should we stop recording? Should we say goodbye and stop recording?
AJ, how much of this audio do you think you're going to keep in the show?
We'll see.
We'll see.
There might be links in the description to all of these wild covers.
AJ,
so
do you want
good.
me to just plug it and we can put it after the credits if you want?
No, that's fine. This is the podcast.
This is podcasting.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what the people want.
Well, listen, everybody, thanks for tuning in to the start of Bonehunters. I'm pretty stoked to read book 6. We're all here, and it had our least contentious episode of all time. In fact, we're only friends here, and we've never disagreed with each other, except about the colonialism thing. And Josh and AJ, I'm watching you.
Stand by it.
So,
Compassion.
let a friend know about the show. Compassion, 10 Very Big Books, Twitter, Gmail, yada, 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 rate, review, yada, 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 yada. Okay, I say come, you say passion, come.
Passion.
See you.
Hello, everybody. Producer AJ here with the windows open, drinking a little iced coffee. Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of Season 6 of the podcast. We are all really excited to be reading The Bonehunters, and we are enjoying working our way through it. If you'd like to give us your thoughts or feelings about this or any of our episodes, you can always email us 10verybigbooks@gmail.com, or you can head on over to our Discord, bit.ly/VBB Discord. That's capital V, capital B, capital B, capital D, Discord. That link will also be in the show notes. You can also head to our Twitter, also at 10 Very Big Books, if you'd like to contact us there. Of course, thank you to all of our wonderful patrons over on Patreon, including the one extremely generous patron from this month. You know who you are, and we really, really appreciate your contribution, as well as all of the other contributions from all of our patrons. If you'd like to pledge to our Patreon, you can head over to patreon.com/10verybigbooks. That link will also be in the show notes. Also, in case you missed it, myself and the rest of the crew did a halfway Q&A stream on Twitch last week in honor of us being done Midnight Tides and starting the Bonehunters. It was a really great time. Thank you to everyone who came, but if you missed it, you can watch the archive stream on our YouTube page, youtube.com/10verybigbooks. Hopefully we'll be doing some more of these in the future, so keep your eyes on our Twitter and the Discord for that. And as always, thank you so very much to Dan Gesrick for making our spectacular logo. You can follow him on Twitter at @A_W_DanG, where he's got a new handle. And of course, the wonderful music in today's episode is by the one and only Amaranthin from their album Simulant Rain, which you can find along with their other music on bandcamp.com. Links to their pages will be in the show notes, and 10 Very Big Books will be back in 2 weeks on April 23rd, where we'll be discussing the Bonehunters chapters 4, 5, and 6. I'll talk to you then, and thank you so much for listening.